All right. I am going to share another time capsule of how I am building with AMP now. This one will be pretty quick. Just going to do my normal work, and we'll see a lot of stuff that is new about AMP, that's new even in the last couple weeks since I recorded the last one. So get ready. Got folks on X and Twitch and YouTube, and we'll post a recording afterwards of this. So again, you're just going to watch me do my normal work with AMP, and I'll point out a bunch of things. Feel free to say stuff in the chat. I'll be watching that. And let's get started here. So, all right, you found me in the middle of my work, and it's like 10:43 p.m. where I am, and I did some coding, building, but was also doing a bunch of other stuff today. So my inbox is full of all the feedback, and I generally go and kick AMP off on that. We're getting some more automations in there to do that automatically. Like soon you will see a little report bug thing that'll have a nice automatic feedback loop. For now, I'll show the kind of stuff that I do. So this is a bug in a experimental feature. You can actually enable it, and I want to show you where you can enable advanced features in AMP. If you go down to, oh, wow, we've added so many things here in this list that you cannot even see it. Okay, that's kind of crazy. Let me make my window a little bit taller. Okay, I can see it. All right, that's something we will fix, but in just a second. If you turn on desktop here, then you get this little desktop tab over here, and I will show you the bug. It's probably not going to work. You can see there's a bug, but anyway, this is like a remote desktop session. The dimensions were all off, and it was not showing up originally in my Safari, I'm actually in the native app, but that uses the Safari renderer. So what did I do? I just gave it that prompt, and I dictated that. I've been using dictation for probably about 90% of my AMP input. You can just press that little microphone button anywhere, or Command-Shift-D, or you can set up custom key bindings. So it iterated. It actually hit a little snag. It fixed some stuff in local dev. It didn't actually fix it, so I had to prompt it a little bit more. And then it uncovered another bug. So if you have had the joy of building for Safari, the last few years, you realize how smooth Chrome is. And Safari has a bunch of random bugs. Like you have to encode a video just right for it to work in Safari. So what I noticed is that if I scrub here, it works, but if I just play, then it doesn't work and it just stays gray. Of course, now it works because I think I started it midway. But anyway, it's a bug. And this is the kind of thing where, because we have orbs are remote machines where you can run an agent with zero friction, zero supervision. This is the kind of bug where I'm just going to kick off something to go look at that. This is like a tangent, from what I was doing. So I'm going to start dictation and start a new orb thread to look into how we can ensure that whenever we present a video to the user, it is encoded in whatever you just did to make it work in the native app. All right, there we go. So pretty soon we're going to see another thread over here, and it's going to be doing that work totally independently, but it's going to carry all of the context that it had here over to that, which, is really nice. All right. Let's keep going here. That definitely looks a little bit better. We can do a portal within a portal. All right, so portals are a way to let you try out your local dev server, and doesn't seem to be working there. Sometimes the dev server dies, or the agent makes a change that kills it, and you can just ask AMP to fix. So I want to try out the changes that it made here. And again, with orbs, this dev server is running on a remote machine. It's not running on my laptop. I don't need to worry about it conflicting with other dev servers I have. It just works. I don't have to think about it. It just lives over here. While that's working, I'm going to go switch over to another thing here we go. So you may have seen that we now let you host your code on AMP. And let me just set some context for what I was fixing here. If you go to your projects, you can do a new project and start from scratch. And this means you make an AMP hosted Git repository. So if you do that, well, turns out you can also make it public, which is pretty cool. Now, there's a lot more that we need to build here, but you can, public read-only code access. There we go. So I will copy this. I'll show you what it looks like if we view it in public. There we go. It doesn't look great. There's no AMP logo up there. It's pretty bare bones. And actually, I noticed a problem that when I hover over that Get button, there's something that changes. I think it probably adds in our like shad CN thing, some global modal thing, and then you can't scroll anymore. I'm trying to scroll with my scroll wheel. So that's pretty buggy. I wanted to make this just better. So going back to AMP, this gets me back to, what I wanted to do. And if you have not set an agent to go and just try out your app and look for bugs, it sounds really dumb, but it's gonna find some quite useful stuff. So I also noticed here that it said the dev server configuration is invalid, and I have no idea why that would happen. So I'm just gonna kick off an orb thread to go look into that. The first thing you said was the dev server configuration is invalid. Create a new orb thread to look into why that happened and fix it for the future. Okay. Like anytime when we're using our product, which is all the time, anytime we run into any kind of bug, we obviously have AMP go and look into it. It is such a nice state of mind to always be using your product and to always be able to just jump in and fix stuff. I see Brett in the chat on our team said that he maybe pushed one of those bugs and it should be fixed now. That's cool. All right. And there's another question. Is it possible to color code the chats in the sidebar? Yes, it is. So going back to, if you go back to advanced settings, you can turn this on. Then you can right click on any of these and say color. So let's make this one yellow. There we go. So that's color coding. And Thorsten added that recently. All right, so let's look at the nicer look that it made for us. Obviously, it's nice that we can see a screenshot. I kind of like that look. It's weird, though, that there's more spacing over here. Let's give it a try. So here, to open the authenticated project, I will just open it here in the portal pane. Here we go. This is what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, actually, that looks pretty nice. We can try it in some different devices. Brett just added this mobile view. That's pretty cool. I think, probably would be nice if that thing extended all the way to the bottom, but I will talk to him about that. Clone, nice and simple. Ooh, that looks weird. You see the underline, looks a little janky there. So I'll say, this, when you hover it, the underline also underlines the space. So fix that. And also make it so that if you click on the @amp, which is like the namespace, then it goes to a page listing all of that namespace's public projects. So that's not all one big link, but it's two. Okay, there we go. But yeah, I mean, this looks pretty nice. Now, let's try it when it's really wide. So I'll copy this URL. I'll go back to, I'll use an authenticated Safari because portals, when you're looking at your dev server, we don't make them public just to anyone. And here we go. So still, yeah, we can see that when it's very wide, there's a little bit of an extra gap. So, I can actually just use this here too. And I think actually that orange outline shows the problem. On very wide screens in this design, the header has more width because this element here, it's got like internal padding as well. So fix that, but take a screenshot in wide and narrow and ensure that the spacing is consistent in both. There we go. So, what's really cool is you portal links, and I'm just in Safari, I'm not in the AMP app or anything. You can share these portal links, and anyone else on your team that goes on and looks at this can go, and if they're also signed into AMP, if it's a multiplayer repository or multiplayer thread, then they can go and send comments. So you can give people, even that don't want to go into the full AMP interface, the ability to go and point to things and say, hey, go change this. Awesome, in particular for people that are not coders or that just want to give high-level feedback. And the way, of course, to open this thread up to more people is to make it multiplayer. This little joystick up here, turn on, and there we go. So now anyone else from my workspace will be able to go on and actually interact with this thread. All right. So output only a literal. That's not what I said. It seems like the dictation did not work there. Let's try report bug. And here, okay. Sometimes if the dictation doesn't work, we've noticed that like Mac OS has a few weird audio things. There's a lot of loud noise, so get ready. The first thing you said was the dev server configuration is invalid. Create a new orb thread to look into why. Okay, actually that's another one. So yeah, the dictation did not work there. But I will say, I'll say it again. For some reason, when I said output only a literal, what I meant was make it so that the spacing on wide screens, the header right now is wider than the rest of the page. There's more like internal padding on the content. Make it so that on both wide and narrow screens, the left sides of the content are flush. So yeah, it's strange actually, going back to Safari, that this dictation failed. I want to try it again. So testing dictation. All right, so that is failing. I mean, let's just check to see if it worked the first time. Nope, it did not work the first time. Okay, I totally missed that. All right. Let's see. Let's try it in Chrome. Here we go. See, when you get to watch these, then if we run into bugs in AMP, then we get to fix them as well. Okay, so here I'm looking at the same thing, but not in Safari, in Chrome. And let's try dictation here. Hello, testing. What is 1, 2, 3 plus 4? Okay, so Chrome works and Safari does not. That is strange. Let's do what we always do. I was using the review widget in an AMP portal, and when I do dictation, I am only getting gibberish from Safari, the same kind of thing that happens if the audio recording input is totally broken, but the same thing in Chrome works. Fix this or figure out why this could be happening, and also make it so that I can somehow see diagnostics of why this happened. It's a little bit trickier because it's in the review widget, which is, of course, running in the separate iframe. So if needed, you can make a new app that I can try, you can expose to the portal, and we can try diagnostics together. All right, so what I did there is I use this pattern, which is if there's some weird like cross-platform compatibility issue, then I have it just make a little app for me, and I go and try it in a bunch of different things, and it sees what are all of the inputs and parameters that it gets, and that's a great way for it to do its own troubleshooting. All right, and yeah, that really makes me nervous because any kind of dictation issue is not good. It absolutely sucks to lose stuff that you've said. So let me try to remember, what I said here. Okay, I'm going to do that again. And then the first thing I said was when you click on the @amp/calc, or when you hover it, the underline goes over the space as well, and I don't want that. And actually, I want it if you hover and click on the namespace, it takes you to a new page that shows all of that workspaces or that person's public projects. And that means that the whole thing is not actually a single hover link. So fix that as well. Okay. There we go. We will get those kicked off. All right. That was just what we were working on. Okay, I see someone from the chat says it'd be nice if we have a pen tool in addition to selecting to mark something. Cursor and Gemini have it. Yeah, and yes, AMP. We wanted to feel like living on the frontier, so I'm glad that comes through. Pen tool seems really cool. I'm very curious how it actually communicates what it is kind of circling. So, I mean, maybe it takes a screenshot. That can be tricky. But let's like, kick something off. I'll say a very cool person from the chat said that they want to make it so in addition to being able to click on elements and add a comment to them in the portal, they want to be able to draw something with the, pen tool so that they can mark something, like draw circles on the screen, kind of like a football announcer. So look at how other products do that and figure out how we could do that and how we could communicate what element is drawn over as well. And once you've gotten it, then show me a demo video. All right, let's see what it comes up with. It's a cool idea. And the nice thing about orbs, again, they're super lightweight, super low friction to create. There are machines that let you run the agent without supervision. You don't need to worry about them conflicting with stuff on your laptop. So if you have a cool idea and you want to try it out, it takes so little energy to go and do that. And even if 80% of them don't end up going anywhere, they're not good, you don't get joy from using them, I mean, who cares? You can try so much more now. All right. But anyway, this already looks a lot better than what we had. We can pop in on this. Looks like there might be a difference in how we were doing dictation in Safari. So, it's interesting that it's got a good lead there. And let's see. Here's another feature. Was visiting a customer in San Francisco today, and someone said, hey, I want to be able to drag these threads in the sidebar and drop them into a label. It feels like you should be able to drag and drop on the sidebar. So we've got AMP set to doing this, and let's see. And I want to have some more kind of sample data to play with. So I'll say, make a bunch more threads and sample labels so that I have a lot more to play with. All right, so it'll do that. Someone is asking, the bottleneck now is reviewing the code. How do we know how much to review? How do we gain confidence? Here, I'll auth back in. That's a really good question. And that is like the $1 trillion question. How do you know if something is good to ship? So okay, just, bear with me here. Let's say that AMP had a $1 billion guarantee. We don't, to be clear, but let's say we did, where, AMP would say, if you merge this and there's any problem with it whatsoever, we're going to pay you $1 billion. I think you'd feel pretty comfortable merging it without looking at any of the code or really anything. Now, we don't have that. What can we get that approximates that? And the reason I give that example is because it's not like, to know if it's good to merge, you need to look at all the code. Actually, that's not how most decisions are made. Most of the code that is merged into production, the accountable person is never looking at it, because the accountable person is like the CEO of the company, and they have, a manager, and then the person who wrote it, and they trust in that chain. So we already need to think about this verification idea, not as, it's code review, it's looking at the lines of code, but it's more holistic. How do you get confidence in it? And one thing, portals, actually being able to see the change, that's a really important way to get confidence in it. In many cases, that's more important than looking at the code. Like, let me give an example here. This, thing where I was fixing, where we need to encode the videos correctly so that they work in Safari. I don't really care about that code. That's probably not security sensitive. I don't know video code. It's going to run FFmpeg. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. But what matters is seeing if the thing actually works. And we do let you see the code. This is a great way to make it fast to pop in. And for AMP, for anything that actually ships to the product, I think that, someone on the team looks at the code, not all the code, not the test code necessarily, but we never have anything where we just like say a prompt and we YOLO it into production when it's something that's a feature. So, we do have a fast way to look at code, but we've got all these other ways as well, and the portal is a big one. Asking the agent to go and prove its work is another big one, like we saw here where it gave us a screenshot. And so, you want to be thinking like a manager. How can you inspect? How can you, in the shortest amount of time possible, have the highest, fidelity bits of information about whether it's correct? All right, let's see. We got some more good questions here. Can orbs handle tasks requiring authentication? Yes. So there's a couple things here, and the first is authentication to your own app. We have a pattern. Let me see if I can show an example. We've got a pattern where it's not. Yeah, this is the one where it was not responding. Let's have AMP fix that. We've got a pattern where basically don't make the agent go through like the Google OAuth into your app or type in a password and username. Let it get in through a special endpoint. And maybe I can pop over here to show you. So I'll open this up in a browser where I have not signed in and go to this special route. Maybe it's here. Here we go. Okay. So this is a page that is in our application. It is only in dev mode, and the agent is told to go and go to this path, and then it can sign in as anyone. It can create a lot of other scenarios, for example. So this is a much better pattern than having the agent like have a hard-coded username and password in local dev. It sets all the right cookies and so on. So this is what we recommend for your own app. For anything more complex, then we've got support for OIDC and Workflow Identity Federation. And this is a revelation for us. I mean, this is what lets you make it so that from an orb, you can, for example, like pull G-Cloud logs. And let me show an example where that was really helpful, something I was just fixing here. So I actually ran into a bug and made an AMP report. It's what you get when you go report a bug. And what it did as part of fixing this is it went and looked at our G-Cloud logs. And orbs have limited read-only access to our G-Cloud logs. Now, initially, a lot of people might think, oh no, how can we give something that's running in the cloud access to our infrastructure? That's very dangerous. And then what they do is they give dev machines read and write access, because dev machines, just, not every dev, but they're devs, they need access to prod ultimately. And then they go and run a bunch of agents on that machine. And these agents are a single shell command away or a single environment variable away from actually accessing prod. And we've seen agents, models are very good at breaking out of containment. So actually, once you get this set up, you realize it feels a lot more secure, and it is a lot more secure to give your orbs read-only access to limited things in your cloud account. And we have a way also for AMP to request access to the production database, certain tables there, and then we go and approve that on a case-by-case basis. So we've done all of that, and that has been just tremendous. It means that AMP now is able to not just help us with like the building part, but also the whole ops stuff. And it makes it so much more effective at fixing errors or incident response. So, because it was able to pull the logs, it was able to figure out the issue here. Stop for a Diet Coke break. All right, I see someone else is asking for a greenfield project. How much would you be inspecting code? Well, if you've got a new project and you can, get away, you can set the right risk expectations so that you don't need to look at the code. I think that there's gonna be a whole new class of software where that's the case, where, as a user of it, you are okay with maybe it's like 99% cheaper. Maybe it is so much faster to iterate, and you just don't trust it as much in certain ways that you might trust like the most official enterprise software, but that's what you want. In the same way that sometimes you want a really fancy restaurant meal and sometimes you just want something really quick, or sometimes you just want like a nutrition shake. So I think that there's going to be a lot more software that you're actually using that maybe you didn't, vibe code, but someone else did and you've customized it on top. And in that case, maybe no one ever looks at the code. Also, Diet Coke. Yeah, for sure. That is the drink of Puck, which brings me to another feature request I want to show end to end. We shipped this new Puck voice mode, and people want a shortcut to get to it more easily. So, right now you can do Control/ to open Puck, and then you can click that, but people want a shortcut just to that. And turns out on our iOS app, we have one. Let me just give a shout out to our iOS app. It's still in beta, Mac OS app as well, but you can go to amco.com/app and get it. We've got it actually rigged up so that you can hold the action button on your phone. Like, I don't know where my phone is, but anyway, that little button on the side. But it'd be cool if you have a keyboard shortcut here to get to this voice mode. Hey, Puck, do you think I should add a shortcut to make it really easy for people to get to you? All right, well, hold on, that did not work. Let's see, maybe my microphone is taken up. Hello, Puck? Hello, Puck? All right, well, there's another bug. Let's see. Okay, my microphone selection is a pain. Let me see. I've got a lot of different audio devices, and we don't expose which one it's coming from for real-time voice, so that's another thing we need to fix. Let's try it again. Hello, Puck. Testing. Okay. It might be because I'm on a stream. I don't know how these things work. I'll ask Puck there. It seems that when we're trying to use real-time voice in Puck, when I am using my main microphone for another stream, there's no audio. So we don't expose any of the same audio options for the real-time voice as we do for dictation. So make it so that whatever the user has selected for dictation is also what's used for real-time Puck. Fix that, and then see if there's any other bugs that might be causing this. Okay, so that's dictation to Puck. But let's go back to a hotkey. So this is a pretty easy one. I'll just say, make a hotkey that is Control/Shift/ that opens up Puck and enters the real-time voice mode. And show it in the keyboard shortcuts and settings as well. All right, so I kicked that one off. All right, there's a question. Do orbs just run the AMP CLI inside? Pretty much. Not exactly, but yes, pretty much. You can think of that. And orbs are full Linux machines, so you can get a terminal into them. And actually, if you really want, you can, even run the AMP CLI yourself inside of an orb. Here you go. All right. Cool. I have shipped another feature that we've not announced yet that lets you get help on the costs and see what your usage is like. So let's give that a try. How many threads and how many orb hours have I used in the last 24 hours? So we've given Puck the ability to look at your usage. So actually, I shipped this. I have not actually tried it in production yet. And I mean, right now, you can see there, it's got some usage. And what I see is, I wish that it had said, been able to look at some better information. Make it so that the get usage also would tell me how many orb hours that I've used, or it at least would give a hint to how the agent could go and iterate over all of my threads and pull that information from each of them. Update the system prompt or the comments output by that command or the internal API markdown response. All right, so it's feature flagged, but pretty soon everyone else will get that. All right. Let's just check in on other things. That one seems to have gotten a fix. And yeah, let's move it along. I think that I will call it a night right now. We've just bopped around. We've shown portals, shown how low friction it is to use orbs to just kick off a fix, kick off an exploration into a new feature. And then, also just, how I've been using AMP lately. So I'll do this again. The point is to just make this like a time capsule. Thanks for watching. And also thanks for using AMP. Go and reach out if you got any questions or any feedback.